Hi guys, it's Andrew. I'm the Urban Bayman. And this morning, it's the 17th of May, guys, and I'm not certain what kind of a tourism season we're going to get this year, despite all these vaccines. Regardless, I am thinking about you. I'm thinking about what would normally be going on at this time of year. And I wrote a blog a little while ago, and you got to remember the reason I'm doing these videos is because nobody was reading the blog, so I'm assuming nobody's read this one. I'm trying to get some of that color back up into the sky there. It's not working out very well, but regardless. I think the best way for me to share this with you is to actually read it, right? Because when guests ask me, when is the best time to visit Newfoundland, my standard response is right now, right? And as absurd as it might seem on the 17th of May, guys, this is a great time to visit Newfoundland. As I wrote, I said, right now is an especially exciting time. Our crab season is open, it's full. You're going to start seeing vehicles, you're going to start seeing activity down here on the wharf. There's lots of color. The crab pots, brilliant red crab pots are piled everywhere. It makes for great photography opportunities. Everyone is in a great mood. They're making lots of money. We're getting over $7 a pound for our crab this year. The fishermen, a lot of them got their crab early. So they're willing to talk. They have the time. They have the capacity right now to be able to share their lore, to share their adventures with you. This is a great time for storm watching, right? Our weather patterns are well, anything but consistent. In fact, tempestuous is probably the best word. Tempestuous? I think that's the word. Is probably the best way to describe the weather. We could get snow tomorrow. Right? For storm watchers, there's lots of waves, there's lots of wind, there's lots of activity. Normally this time of year, we'd still have snowmobiling. There'd still be backcountry skiing. We didn't have much of a winter this year, but it's, again, the balance, the check, the gamble you take on any adventure that you make to our island. One thing I can assure you is that our university is closed. The kids are out, and George Street, right, even in a pandemic, because again, you have to remember things are a little bit different in Newfoundland, George Street is hopping. There's sea trout in the brooks. Icebergs, yeah, we've seen them as early as January. Chris Mitchellmore has been doing a great job. He used to be our Minister of Tourism, has been doing a great job of posting pictures from his home district on the Great Northern Peninsula. Unfortunately, it's not looking like it's going to be a great year here locally, and well, you can imagine the theories that I have on this. This hasn't been a normal year, guys, right? Thus, the appropriateness of this video, because when I tell you right now, that's not normal either. Normal people don't visit Newfoundland in May month. No matter what time of year you visit Newfoundland, every guest will experience a unique and diverse history. The people will charm you. The arts will enchant you. The language amazes, and the geology will put place and space in perspective. We offer tours from the early part of June through the end of September. And by world standards, this is the most civilized season you can find on the island of Newfoundland. And from these dates, you can best choose a date that caters to your personal interests and desires. If your passion is icebergs, all right, future reference, you'd best book your trip in June. As I said earlier, though we often see icebergs very early in the season, from May until August on our 12-day tours, which take you all the way down north on the Great Northern Peninsula and even across to Labrador, you'll be almost guaranteed to see ice. But remember, I guess it was 7 years ago when I first came home, the best ice that we had that year was in September. There's our fisherman. All right.
Are you doing a video?
I am.
Oh.
And you have perfect timing. I was just talking about. See, that's what I was just talking about. See, I told you it's an exciting time to be in Newfoundland. That year in September, right? We didn't get any ice early that year. It didn't arrive until September. Remember that great big sheet of ice that broke off of Greenland, and it was, it was the size of Manhattan, right? Everybody was talking about it. It was, it made international news. That big pan of ice didn't get here until September of that year. So what we like to remind people when it comes to ice, even though you've come here in June like this year, if you were here in June this year, boy, you're going to be hard pressed. We'll see it down north. But around here locally, Iceberg Alley and those places, they're probably going to be stuck. As we like to remind guests, this is Newfoundland, not Disneyland. For bird watchers and anyone with a fixation on whales, you need to visit Newfoundland in July. Each year, 22 species of whales. Now, when I say July, guys, those same fishermen that just drove behind me, they saw 2 baby whales yesterday. And when they said baby whales, like the boys said, they'd never seen anything, they weren't even 6 feet long. They weren't as big as a porpoise. They must have been just born, right? Remember, it's Newfoundland, not Disneyland. But we have 22 different species of whales and a multitude of seabirds that congregate in our cold, clear Atlantic waters. They come to feed, to nest, to care for their young. This is indeed a spectacular window from which wildlife viewing is beyond compare. The birds start arriving in May. If you were to visit Loyola, the O'Briens, the Gatheralls, any of those groups on the Puffin Islands, right, you are going to see those birds right now coming and going. They start arriving in May, as will many of the whales. But there's nothing like the last 2 weeks of June through the first 2 weeks of August if you want to see their best performance. With that said, I swear that I saw a whale off Signal Hill last January. Right? When I got back to the camp, I looked it up on the internet, and sure enough, we have winter whales in Newfoundland. We can see them almost any time of year. There's a much wider variety of whales, seals, even schools of porpoises chasing the herring along the island's coast in August and September, and most often in the bays of, in the shores of Bond Bay on the west coast of Newfoundland. I love touring in August and September when the weather falls into those perfect temperate patterns. This is when the gannets start pounding the waters off Cape Spear, the most eastern point of land in North America, and arguably North America. Moose hunting also starts in early September, so you're likely to get invited for a taste of the wild game cooking on a stage stove. A food fishery opens for a second feed of cod in the early fall, and of course, this is when berry season begins. Every step on every trail invites you to sample an abundance of wild blueberries, raspberries, and partridge berries growing on the coastal heads, highlands, and plains. You'll never taste a fruit so perfectly pure, nor will you breathe such clean air or feel so spiritually renewed. This is good. Fall colors start with fall flowers. And fortunately for guests, they require no showers. Before the autumn equinox, Newfoundland's water maples flare their leaves into brilliant reds, while the low-lying bushes settle into a complementary carpet of autumn hues. Newfoundlanders often say September is our compensation for May, but I believe it's just like any other month, yet another wonderful time to spend in Newfoundland. Yeah. We miss our guests. We look forward to seeing you soon. I hope you're enjoying these videos in the meantime. And for now, I'm going to sign out. Andrew McCarthy, I'm the Urban Bayman, and please subscribe to our channel. Thanks, guys.